think I fully regret buying a house now. Like, it's not the worst choice I ever made, but it's so expensive. But at the same time, it's exactly what rent would be costing me anyways. I'm almost an hour away from where I want to be and almost an hour away from work. It's a lot of upkeep, a lot of maintenance. I feel like the housing market could crash at any minute, and interest rates were high when I bought it, and so were prices. I rationalized it by telling myself, well, it's the same amount as rent and I should get something back out of it at the end of the day. Which honestly at this point might not even be true. And I'm far away from everything and I have an hour-long commute and I'm tired and I'm in a 3-bedroom house and I live alone. I'm very thankful that I'm able to do this. Don't get me wrong. I just don't know if it was the right choice and I'm stressing over it right now. I've only been here for like 8 months. I don't know what to do.
Do not buy a house early on in your career. As young people, we constantly get fed information about how important it is to get on the property ladder as early as possible, but nobody stops to think if this is actually a good idea. This advice tends to lead people to rush into buying their first home. They'll sign up for a mortgage, dependent on the current income they're earning and the current job that they have, without realizing what that actually does for them long term. If you are young and you are working, chances are you're not going to be doing the same thing in 20 years' time. If something drastic happens, like, you lose your job to AI or something like that, all of a sudden, that liability is massive. You have no flexibility. If you're renting, however, you have that flexibility of, you can move somewhere else, you can move to a cheaper, flat. The recent Renters' Right Act in the UK is massive for flexibility, absolutely massive. So before you buy your first house, I'd strongly encourage you to slow down and think about whether or not this is the best option for you. It's a lot of money to give up.
One of the biggest mistakes I ever made is to buy a house in Florida. Personally, I love Florida, but I think that Florida is a good place to visit, but not to live. You can say same thing about New York City, but I think that Florida is worse. Why? Because minimum wage is so low, there are not that many good jobs. Plus, education sucks and healthcare sucks. Somebody told me Florida sucks so bad. After I bought the house, I didn't believe it. I didn't want to believe it. I was in denial, but now I believe it. And I think that Florida sucks.
They told us to build generational wealth, but nobody told us the house will be the thing that broke us. So you saved for years, you did everything right, you got a job, you got a credit score, you got the keys, and then the property tax bill arrived. Then the roof, then the furnace, then the inspector who missed the foundation crack. Now, you're working 2 jobs to keep a house you can barely afford to be in. You're not a homeowner, you're a hostage. And the wild part, nobody in your family told you this was coming because their generation bought houses when houses made sense. And this is not about whether you should own a home. It is about why Black households are being pushed into ownership traps designed before we were ever supposed to be in the room. I want you guys to stay with me for the next couple of minutes, because by the end of this, you're going to see the whole con. Americans are suffering from mortgage prices. Watch, I'll be back.
I love my house. I'm going to start off by saying that. I love this house. When I was home shopping back in 2021, I chose this house on purpose. The only way I can describe it to people was that it's a house full of love, and you could feel it when you walked in the door. As soon as I walked in the front door of this house, I knew this was my house. I knew it. It sounds completely insane, but maybe you understand that when I walked in, I knew it was mine. And I do love this house. I love everything about this house, but I've come to the realization that I can't stay here because I can't afford to. And it's not that I can't afford the house payment. It's because there's so much wrong. I got a home inspection that wasn't worth the paper it was written on. And if you look back in my TikToks, I've done videos about the multiple things wrong at this house before. It has just been one thing after another, and the list of things that I have to fix is tens of thousands of dollars long. And me as a single person with one income, I can't afford to do all of this on my own. And it makes me really sad because when I bought this house, this was supposed to be my forever home. This was supposed to be my, I'm going to be here until I die or go to the nursing home. And I can't afford to stay here. I don't even know what to advise people. Like, people ask me, what do you recommend for people buying their first house? I have no idea, because I also have friends who bought brand new homes that have issues. The one thing I would say is to just be financially and mentally prepared for the fact that owning a home can completely financially ruin you. And that's where I'm at today. This house has quite literally bankrupted me. And I'm devastated because I love this house. But unless I win the lotto or marry a rich husband, there's no way I can possibly fix all the things wrong here. So anyway, that's all I got. Happy holidays.
My mortgage went up $1,000 and I am not okay. So let me tell you guys, for the longest time, people be screaming from the hilltop, home ownership is not it. Like, don't rush. And I will just be like, I don't understand it because I'm literally chilling. Like, cheaper than rent. I was bamboozled. So let me tell y'all what they do not tell y'all about real estate. So they do an analysis every year from, at least with the mortgage that I got, right? And so they did an analysis and basically my mortgage increased by $1,000. And I asked them why. And they were like, something about, my house is a new build. And so I guess they charged me for the taxes when it was just the land for 2 years. Then after year 2, they add the taxes with the house actually on it. And they were like, yeah, your builder is supposed to tell you. They didn't. They didn't. And so I asked them, can I sell the house? And they were like, there's no equity in it. You guys see me smiling, but come next month, I'm literally going to be in tears because $1,000 extra a month, I legit want to move back home and live with my parents. But I don't have that option. I'm sick. Like, I'm sick. Honestly, don't buy a house if you're single. Like, buy a house when there's 2 incomes coming in because, baby, you gonna need it.
My mortgage on my starter home is $4,845 every single month here in Columbus, Ohio. And one of the things that I think is so frustrating for me is when I talk to people who like bought homes in like 2015, 2014, or people who are like older than me, I'm 28, or people who are in their like late 30s, early 40s. And it's just like, you guys really don't understand how unaffordable housing has become. I have an income where my base salary is well over $300,000 annually.
Do y'all know that people under 40 years old who make $300,000 are in the top 1% of earners? That's who's complaining right now. There are people out there that will never, ever know what it feels like to bring in $300,000 before taxes. I don't even care about the after taxes because after taxes, it's still probably going to be around $220,000+ minimum. So for you to bring in $18,000+ a month and come on here and complain when people have real life problems out there bothers me. It bothers me. And nobody told you to get into a almost $5,000 mortgage. You do know rent is a thing. Nobody said, hey, you come with me. We're going to make you sign up for this mortgage, and it's going to be almost $5,000 a month, and you don't have a choice. You found a house, you liked it, you got a realtor, and then they explained the process, and you still signed all those documents. There's like over 100 documents you got to put your signature on. Why do we come on here and blame the world for choices that we made? I took it a step further. I Googled the average mortgage payment in Ohio. And let's say due to the 5 to 6% interest rates that are around today, let's add $1,000 a month to it. Y'all, it's like $1,700 to $1,900. You add another $1,000, that's $3,000. So you're blaming the world that you didn't pick a starter house. This is not a starter house. It's your starter house. Get out of here, man.
So let me understand this. I can't buy a home because the mortgage rates are too high. I can't rent an apartment because rentals have gone up by 22% since Joe Biden took office. One-bedroom apartments are like $2,500 now. So if you're middle class and you make minimum wage, or maybe let's say even a couple bucks more than that, and you're working full-time, you're bringing home maybe after taxes $2,000 a month. That's not even enough to pay for your rent, let alone your car payment, or if you're trying to pay your car off, your insurance, to feed yourself, to get your health care, to what, you're never going to take a vacation again under these circumstances. Wake up. Is it going to take a stutter, a loss of memory, calling someone the wrong name, or just your pocketbook to get y'all to wake the fuck up? So Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, or AOC, has taken a play out of Gavin Newsom's playbook. She came out and said in an interview that any deep red conservative district that doesn't feel like the representatives are representing them correctly and aren't having enough town halls, she said that she would love to come to.
Have you ever had buyer's remorse on a home you purchased? Maybe it was a gut feeling before closing. You were like, I shouldn't do this. Or after you moved in, it was like one thing after another went wrong. And you just have regrets. It definitely happens. What do you wish you would have known before you bought your house? What will you definitely find out about next time you buy? And how did you solve that problem? What was the solution? In most circumstances, buying a house that you regret means you're going to stay there from 3 to 5 years to regain some equity in order to sell it just to break even. And a couple of you are going to tell me, but I only lived in my house for a year and I got $100,000. That was several years ago. Or no, that's not happening anymore. 3 to 5 years. So what are your tips? How do you avoid buyer's remorse? My first one is to have a really good buyer's agent. But what did you miss? What did you miss on the house that you regret buying? Let us know.
Guys, when we bought this house, I don't think we realized how much financial undertaking it would take. Okay, so in 2021, I think when our child was 6 months or so, we made the decision that we now want to move out of our 2-bedroom rental. We were staying in a very affluent area. It was nice. It was very convenient. It was central to everywhere we frequent. But the issue with the property is that it didn't have like a secure garden or like privacy, because the gardens weren't like sectioned off, so anybody could like look into your bedroom window, honestly. And also we shared the same property with a hotel, right? So anybody could really come in. We didn't really have that much of security issues. I mean, I think there was only one incident, but other than that, it was also like just becoming too small, because now these babies are crawling, she can do stuff, and you've got nannies, you've got people coming into the house and all that stuff, whatever. So then we decide, okay, fine, we want to move out of the space. And I don't know why our decision was to buy a house. Fine. We find the home that we now live in. We agree on a price, and yeah, things go on very smoothly. And our house was the last house, because I remember when we were viewing homes, where we bought our house, it was sold out. And then they contacted us like a week later, and they were like, hey, listen, there's someone's bond, whatever, that fell through. There's an opening, but first grab gets it, so come view and then decide. Firstly, we viewed the house on a screen because the house that they used to view was then sold. Okay, anyway, that's a story for another day. And I think because we really wanted to make this move and we're excited about this move, we didn't really consider a lot of things. So anyway, we buy the house off a plan, basically, off a plan and off of, what are those things called? renders, yeah, off renders. That's what we get our house off of. And because our house was the last one, or like it was a sale that fell through, we took whatever the person had decided on. So there were even things that we didn't realize that we could have added on into our home to make it more comfortable for us, whatever. So we got the house as it is, sharp. When we then decided to accept our bond, we were happy with the bond repayments we had then, right? We never considered that the bond repayments would obviously become way more, obviously also with inflation. So this is the first tip. Do not budget according to that. Like, do not. Already, the difference between our bond repayment and our rent at that point was 8,000 Rand. We were comfortable with that, and that's what we were prepared for because we needed the space and we really wanted to, we wanted to grow as people. Cool. Hi, then 9 months, it took about like 9 months for us to finally get into the home, right? In that time, our bond repayment kept going up and up and up and up and up. We still felt comfortable, and then we moved in. Do you know what we did not consider? The fact that our electricity would be way more, not just a couple hundreds, like way more, right? And obviously, yes, we thought about levies and rates and taxes, but we didn't think about like things like deposits that you need to pay for those. So your ESCOM deposit, which is like crazy. We did not budget for that. And at that time, my husband had just started his new job, and I was still an intern, but I think I was getting less than other interns because they had paid me my full pay when I was pregnant, so I had to pay that back. Cool. So then, anyway, we've now moved in. Now electricity is showing us flames because we moved in winter. Then what we also didn't consider is that the fee for your help, so your nanny, is going to go up because now it's transport. You've moved, right? Because we have a stay out. And then also, because now the house is bigger, you have to get extra help and you need to pay for that extra help, whether you've budgeted or not. Because we couldn't expect our nanny to clean, do everything, and then also take care of a child that is so busy. Right? Shut. Guys, another thing that we did not consider is that our bond would go up with inflation. So from the time that we signed our agreement to now, our bond has gone up by 9,000. Okay, so that puts us, so you add 9,000 and 8,000, that's 17,000 if I'm not mistaken. That's 17,000 difference to where we come from with the rental. And that's like purely the truth. So we were at a certain point, we've now added 17,000. And that's just with bond, right? Then now you have to factor in your water and lights. You factor in your levies. And now if you live in a sectional title, you have things called special levies. Yo, my way. Guys, honestly, I was having a conversation with my husband and I was like, I really wish we did more research. I wish we spoke to more people, because renting for the amount that we pay for, we could have gotten a way better house. And also, if we rented for that amount, at least like levies and stuff don't fall on us. I'm thankful for the house. I'm grateful that God has definitely provided for us, because now my husband has been promoted in his job. He's the MD where he is, and I am financially more stable because I have content creation gigs, and because I'm now a medical officer, I get paid more than what I was as an intern. But honestly, when I look at the amount of money that leaves our accounts, I'm just like, sometimes I miss that too, petrol. Honestly, I would have been so rich if I stayed in a flat. Like, so rich. But anyway, so if you are someone that is looking to get into a home, I don't want to discourage you. I just want to ask you to please do as much research as you can. Speak if you have a friend where that lives in the place that you're looking to move into. Please have an honest conversation with them and start budgeting, looking at that, because we really budgeted with in a very short-sighted way. It is our mistake, it's nobody else's, but I guess we live and we learn. We were very lucky that things really advanced for us in terms of our careers, and we were able to do what we can do. But if we still had the same salaries that we had at that point when we decided to move, we would have been absolutely screwed. Yeah, that's it.
Good people, allow me to paint your picture. Let's say you're 28 years old, single income. You just closed on your first home. The realtor is smiling. Your mama is crying. Your co-workers think you're winning. And you are terrified because after closing costs, you generally don't know if you can afford groceries next week. That's not hypothetical. That's a real story. Multiple real stories, and in America right now they don't talk about it enough because they've been told that home ownership is the finish line, the thing that separates the ones who made it from the ones who didn't. But what if the finish line itself was a trap? Now, here's what the American dream pitch never includes in the brochure. New build, your property taxes get reassessed after the house is complete. Meaning your mortgage can jump $1,000 a month overnight. And nobody warned you. Your lender didn't warn you. Your agent definitely didn't warn you. Then something breaks, and in a house, something always breaks. Roof, the foundation, HVC, plumbing. We're talking tens of thousands of dollars in repairs that no home inspection, no matter how good, is going to fully catch. On a single income, that's not an inconvenience. That's a financial event horizon. And if you bought in a suburb, you could afford, which means far from where you work, far from your community, far from anything resembling your culture. Congratulations, you also bought a 2-hour daily commute in a lifestyle that is slowly draining your will to live. The system sold us a math problem with missing variables. A mortgage is the same as rent. No, it is not. Rent does not come with a furnace that dies in February. Rent does not come with a leaking roof you are legally and financially responsible for. Rent does not lock you into geography when your industry shifts, your company downsizes, or your mental health requires a completely different environment. And this is where the diaspora dimension hits different. I know of black households which are disproportionately single income. Black women in particular are most likely demographic to enter home ownership alone because they are also the most likely to be carrying family financially, supporting aging parents, raising children without a co-earning partner. They're being steered into the most financial precarious fashion of a purchase that is already fragile for people with 2 incomes and a safety net. The property ladder was built for a post-war economy where 1 income could support a family, where houses cost 2 or 3 times your annual salary instead of 8 or 10, where your job was stable and your pension was real. That economy is gone, but adverse stayed. Our grandparents bought houses and it worked, and we absorbed that story as gospel. What we didn't absorb was the context. There are so many things right now that are happening. The economy is in shambles. There's a lot of crises, which means that a lot of people, especially young people, Gen Zs, the youths, won't be able to afford these houses. So my brothers and sisters, if you're out there in the diaspora, you guys right now who are going into adulthood, I want to tell you that it's better to choose your mental health over a roof that will become a prison that will drain you physically, mentally, and financially. Choose you because the mortgage is a scam. Thank you for watching. Thank you for always here. This is the Diaspora View, and I hope we'll catch up next time.